Hello, and welcome to another edition of Sports Pause. I'm David Marr. The ice at M&T Bank Arena is always used by Quinnipiac, both men's and women's ice hockey teams. But on most Saturday afternoons, kids from all over the state of Connecticut get to use the ice as well. Welcome to Bobcat Breakdown. I'm your host, David Marr. Alongside me are my sweet mates, men's soccer beat reporter Dylan Sommer and volleyball beat reporter Gage Kilborn. Let's stay on the baseball diamond in the bottom of the first. At number 2, it's Anthony D'Onofrio at the dish. He says, "See ya later." As that one goes into orbit and it is long gone, he would leave the yard later again in this game as Quinnipiac ran away from Iona in Game 1, 24-10. While the Bobcats punched their ticket to the postseason, they also honored the 2023 senior class prior to the start of today's game. Over the last few years, when you come into M&T Bank Arena, you usually see the 500-win banner that's displayed right up there here on the rafters at M&T Bank Arena. We saw Quinnipiac kind of struggle against a really good MAAC goaltender in Henry Vogt. This time, they got a winless Canisius team. They take care of business, but it wasn't easy. What'd you see from today?
How you guys feeling tonight?
I feel good, Griffin. Keith, this is exciting. 2 South Shore natives of MAAC going at it tonight on the desk with a lot of good topics. Can't wait. It was a big day in Quinnipiac athletics this Saturday. The Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team defeated Princeton 4-1. Earlier today, the Quinnipiac women's ice hockey team took care of business against St. Lawrence 5-2. But while that was going on, the Quinnipiac women's volleyball team handled their biggest business of the season, defeating the Fairfield Stags 3-1 in sets, winning the MAAC championship for volleyball. This is now the 4th program in Quinnipiac this season to earn a MAAC championship. 2 for soccer, 1 for cross country, and now for volleyball. I spoke to Coach Rand Pecknold and a few players after the game about the success of Quinnipiac's athletics this fall.
Well, I think the school's rolling right now, which is great. A lot of the fall teams are winning, which is outstanding. Obviously, men's and women's hockey's in a good spot. I know men's basketball had a really huge win. I don't know if it was a week or 10 days ago. So, and women's basketball is always great. So it's nice. Just when the school is successful in general, I think it helps everybody. You know, we all help each other with admissions and stuff like that.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, like I was talking to our trainer Brajesh, and he told me they won, and it's pretty special. And even men's soccer, women's soccer winning the MAAC, like that's awesome. And I think like as a whole, like it just means that we're putting ourselves out there, and like everyone's gonna know what Quinnipiac is.
Yeah, I mean it's awesome. I mean we went to go support like the soccer game and men's soccer and women's soccer. And it was like super cool, honestly. Just getting out there and seeing, I guess other Bobcat teams winning. It's just super cool. I guess it's good culture all around. Everyone's rooting for each other, so it makes it fun.
With the fall sports success here in Hamden, the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team will look to follow that formula this season as they journey towards their own NCAA championship. The Bobcats' journey will take them to Ireland next week when they'll face off against Dartmouth in the Friendship 4 next Friday following Thanksgiving. After that, the Bobcats' quest for an Whitelock Cup and potentially an NCAA championship will continue. I'm David Marr, reporting from Hamden for Q30 Sports. After 4 games in 3 weeks, 2 games in Bridgeport, and 2 games in Tampa Bay against 2 of the best Big Ten programs in the country, one of which being the best team in the country this season in the Minnesota Golden Gophers, the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team returned home to Hamden safely with the 2023 NCAA Division I hockey trophy.
I mean, it was great coming up the hill. I knew we had some type of small function. I had nothing to do with setting anything up. They just said, "Oh yeah, you just got to say a few words." I thought there'd be like 25 people out here, but it was packed. It was great coming down the red carpet. People were loud. People were energized, and you could feel the passion, which I thought was really nice.
When Ren Pecknold first arrived at Quinnipiac, the program was at the bottom of Division II. After 29 years and 600-plus wins, Quinnipiac now sits at the top of the Division I hockey mountain. Many of the players discussed how Pecknold has impacted them throughout the season.
I said this before, he's the GOAT of college hockey. He's unreal. He's he really puts his blood, sweat, and tears in this program, and glad we got it done for him and the boys.
He deserves it more than anyone, honestly. Everyone knows the story of where the program came from, and to where it is now. I think it's very safe to say a national powerhouse program. It's crazy. He's so deserving of it. He puts in so much work and time and cares so much about Quinnipiac and this school and this program. So it's awesome to see.
It's so awesome. I'm so happy for him and the entire coaching staff and everyone. I feel like he just deserves them so bad. Everything he's done here. Assistant coaches too, strength coaches, like everyone just working. the guys on the team want to do it for each other, but they also want to do it for the staff too, because we know just how hard and these guys work, so it's pretty special.
To commemorate this national championship run, the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team will host a celebratory event right here inside M&T Bank Arena tomorrow night at 6 p.m. A lot of alums and a lot of diehard fans here in Hamden are expected to be on hand for what should be a historic night in Quinnipiac athletics. Reporting from M&T Bank Arena, David Marr for Q30 Sports. The women's volleyball team defeated Siena in 5 sets this past Saturday for their first conference win of the season. Now, despite the Saints coming back from down 2 sets in the game, the Bobcats won set 5, 15-13, including a 10-point rally to win the game. Alexander Trenin and Ariana Diaz led the Bobcats in kills with 16 and 14 respectively. Trenin was also big on defense for the Bobcats as she had 16 digs in the game. Volleyball is back in action this Saturday when they head to Fairfield to take on the in-state rival Stags at 1 p.m.
You have those power plays.
I agree with you, Keith. I think the winner of this game is going to win the tournament. I really do. I think these are the 2 best teams in the tournament, and I think they have been for the entire season. And I'm going to kind of agree with you on your power play, but I think they're going to take it up a notch. I'm going to say their penalty kill is going to be also a big key. I go back to last year. I called the Allentown Regional Final between these 2 teams. The stats in that game, and I talked about this on Inside the ECAC a couple of weeks ago, Michigan 3 for 3 on the penalty kill, including a shorthanded goal. They were also 2 for 2 on the power play in that game. That can't happen against this Michigan team. We saw it in the Allentown Regional Final this year when they played against Penn State. Michigan had 5 power plays and really could have scored on all 5 of them. They were only able to get one of them at the end of the 3rd period to tie the game before winning it in overtime. So I think if the Bobcats can stay out of the box, and that's how you slow Michigan's offense down. You cannot let them have an extra attacker because that's how they're going to break through their defense. But also, it's about getting the power play going. You've got to get Graf and Quillan and Metza on that top unit going. And then, of course, the second unit has to come in and clean up the slack as well if they can't get it done. After a weekend series with Iona, let's find out where the Bobcats stand in the MAAC standings as we head into the middle of April. The Bobcats series win over Iona puts them in a tie for 6th place with Mount St. Mary's. Both teams have a conference record of 6-6. Fairfield and Canisius are tied for first at 7-2. Ryder and Niagara round out the top 4 at 9-3 and 7-5 respectively. Manhattan, Iona, Siena, and St. Peter's are all in the bottom half of the standings. The Bobcats will look to continue to rise in the standings next week as they face off against Yale and Canisius. One of the things I witnessed watching Allentown, I was there last year, and obviously the big difference was Eric Portillo. He was tremendous in rebound control. He never let up second chance opportunities. Tonight was the most uncharacteristic I've ever seen him play. I know, Rossi, you said he had the game of his life, but
absolutely,
rebound control was an absolute disaster for Portillo. Quinnipiac could have had maybe 10 goals tonight if he didn't have the rebound control problems or he didn't make those second chance saves. But rebound control for Eric Portillo is not something that you get to see very often. The Bobcats capitalized on second chance opportunities. Portillo let a few soft ones up in the 3rd period, and that's just uncharacteristic to see from an NHL caliber goaltender.
David, what were some of your immediate reactions as the Bobcats took home their first ever national title?
Well, Quinnipiac did a great job adjusting in the 2nd period. We heard it from Rand Pecknold after the game. They were well conditioned, and I feel like at that point they outskated Minnesota. You had your fear going into the game that Quinnipiac could be outskated in the game, and that would be one of the reasons why they would lose. Well, they adjusted from there, and you could see the shots start to pile up. It felt like the pressure just caved in on Minnesota. They couldn't hold the fort down for that long, and ultimately Quinnipiac, well-conditioned, made adjustments in the 2nd period, and ultimately wore the Gophers down and ultimately came home with the hardware. After splitting the week against Sacred Heart and VMI, did the Bobcats improve in the MAAC standings? Let's take a look. Quinnipiac currently sits at 4th place at 4-4 in the MAAC standings. Mount St. Mary's is in 1st after 7 straight wins. In conference play, Manhattan is in 2nd, followed by Marist in 3rd. Siena, LIU, and Sacred Heart all sit at 4-4 and are still in the playoff race. VMI, Wagner, and Canisius are sitting at the bottom and have an outside shot at the postseason. Quinnipiac can clinch a home playoff game with a win on Saturday at home against LIU on Senior Day.
David, take us through how the Bobcats scored the overtime finish.
Well, it's off a set face-off by the Bobcats. A clean win on the draw for Jacob Quillan. Now the pass from Zach Metza, but Sam Lipkin comes from the left side of the red line and goes all the way to the near side, What a sweet pass across the ice on the 2-on-1. Jacob Quillan almost loses this puck initially, but able to recollect it, deposits it into the back of the net, and that is all she wrote in Tampa. The Bobcats exercised their overtime demons in OT against Minnesota with a final of 3-2. Jacob Quillan, a tremendous performance for Quinnipiac. 3 goals in the last 2 games against Michigan and Minnesota, including the one that will last a lifetime here in Quinnipiac. Even though I'll be back at Q30 next year, I truly appreciate the opportunities given to me by the organization, allowing me to beat report for 3 teams over the course of this past year. And I am excited to run it back next season. Be sure to check out Q30TV.com and download the Q30 TV app on the App Store. Also, follow us on Twitter at Q30 Sports for more content.
For David Marr, I'm Griffin Cass, signing off from Studio 125. Good night.
Reporting from the Quinnipiac Lacrosse Stadium, David Marr for Q30 Sports.